Previously on Spenelli Speaks. I love hot dogs. Hi everyone, Danny here. Welcome back to my channel. I am in a little bit of a different area. Been a weird home life lately, and I'm feeling a little self-conscious filming certain things at certain times, so I have to film where and when I can. So I'm actually on my lunch break, and I thought what a perfect time to tell you all about what I read in February. So I'm going to talk about my February wrap-up. Now I apologize for the location, but it'll do. I do have my handy dandy bullet journal, and like I said in January's wrap up, this thing is a lifesaver. So I'm so happy that I've started to use this, because quite honestly, I don't know what I would do without it. I have been terrible on Goodreads. I haven't put anything on there. It's like I'm like 20 books behind already when I really am reading. I just haven't been able to get in there and put in all my stats. So I am going to go ahead and tell you all about what I read in February, and I'm going to tell you what my stats were as well. Now, remember that some of the books that I read in February, I can't actually tell you my ratings or anything about them really until the Booktube Prize, their Booktube Prize books, until that round is complete. So I'll have a different video for that at the end of March, probably early April, to tell you all about those books. I'll tell you which ones I read, but I won't give you any ratings or any of my thoughts on those just yet. Okay, so let's talk about my stats first. So on my handy dandy little TBR page here, on the very bottom, I have my stats, which was new this month because last month I totally did not leave enough space for that kind of stuff. But it looks like I was able to read 3 of my own books, which is great. And then I borrowed 9 books. So all in all, for the month of February, I did read 12 books. 9 of those I am able to talk about. 3 of those are part of the Booktube Prize. And in that, I did have 1 5-star, 2 4-stars, and 6 3-star books. And remember, I am doing my ratings a little bit differently. So I'm rating all of my books in 3 different areas. So content, creativity, and my total engagement. And then I'm taking the average of those scores, and that is what my overall star rating will be, what I put into Goodreads, so to speak. Because like I said last month, I don't want to underscore a book just because I didn't particularly like it, because it could still have a really great reading style or writing style, I mean, and you may very well like it. It could just be that I just don't relate with it very well. So that said, it looks like I read 7 physical books, 1 audiobook, and then 4 ebooks. So that's a lot of ebooks for me. I'm usually not an ebook reader, but when we get to that section, you'll see why it was probably a little bit easier for me to read those particular books as ebooks. Okay, so I'm just gonna go right down the line and tell you about all of the books that I read in February. So the first one I have here was a buddy read, and I actually just did a rapid review for this. This was a buddy read with Kim over at Bookmarks and Breadsticks, and we read Famous Nathan, which was a book about Nathan Handwerker, who started Famous Nathan on Coney Island back in the early 1900s, a little after World War I. And he just created this amazing business, and you just saw his blood, sweat, and tears in this. I mean, for a family saga of a book, you know, it talks about him when he lived in Europe, and I believe he lived somewhere around the Poland area, and how a lot of the land wars were happening and how that affected his family. He was a Jewish immigrant then that came over to the United States. He did not speak any English and got a job in a deli and really just worked his way up. Then he bought this place in Coney Island, and you just hear all these great stories about how he, even though he had no education in business or any of these things, how he, you know, really saw the market and was able to price his food right and get the customers coming all year round too, because Coney Island was best known for a summer haunt. So it's just amazing how he actually had this establishment run year round. You know, we get to see him with his family as far as how they grew up and what they did when they joined the business. Very, very interesting. Even his wife, Ida, so amazing to see her be such a pivotal part of the business. And it was such a great book. I gave that 4 stars. I gave it a 3 in content and creativity and a 5 in engagement. I was totally engaged. Loved it. It was a great buddy read. I'm so happy to have read that with Kim. I also did another buddy read in February, which also has a rapid review, and that was The Wizard of Oz. And I read that with Charlie over at the Bookish Raider. And I would say that I liked the book. I gave it a 3 in engagement. It felt very flat to me. And I think because I didn't realize it was a children's book, I thought it was an adult fiction for some reason, or at least a YA, but yeah, it's totally a children's book. So that makes sense as to why the characters are as flat as they are. Now, don't get me wrong, I still adore the characters. Growing up watching the movie, I was always a big Scarecrow fan, and reading the book, dude, he is scary, kind of. Like, the way he approaches certain things, he's kind of scary. And so is the Tin Man. Like, he's just chopping everyone's head off. Like, oh my gosh, it was like, what? But reading that book, my favorite parts were actually the winged monkeys. They were so cool, and their backstory was amazing. Like, I was like, I want to learn more about that. The winged monkeys were by far my favorite. They really were. I really enjoyed reading about them. I really liked Dorothy, and she's much younger in the book than she is in the movie. In the movie, I believe Judy Garland is 16 years old, and in the book, she's like 8 or 9, I believe. So it was really nice to get to know Dorothy from the page, and she was just really endearing. The one thing I would say is, like, every time something like a mishap would happen, they would kind of just be like, oh, well, we'll leave them behind and we all need to get to Oz. So instead of like trying to help, they would just be like, oh, well, I guess they're left behind. But in some way it would actually end up turning out that they would be able to help them anyways. It was very odd. But there's way more about different lands. There's these quadlings. There's this whole land of like this dainty china, like china set, like porcelain. That was fascinating. I really liked that. And it's a tiny book. When I did my rapid review, so many people were like, Danny, are you going to read the other books? And at the time I was like, I don't know, but it's so intriguing. Like, this story is so interesting that I might read further. I wasn't engaged in the writing style. It was just a little flat for me, but the idea that is there was really the key factor. So I did end up giving that a 3-star rating. Okay, so the next book that I read, I actually read with my book club, and I've been terrible. Didn't even do like a live discussion with my book club. I'm just realizing February was a really weird month for me. But anyways, we read Chocolat by Joanne Harris. And that book for me, as far as engagement, it was another 3-star rating. And even for like writing style and creativity, I gave it a 3 all the way across the board. Like, so it's just a solid 3 for me. My mom really liked that book. She was so interested in the story, and she wanted to know more, and she even picked up the next in the series. And for me, I guess I was just kind of like, nah. I mean, I feel like I had read a story like that before, or it wasn't anything new. And I feel like the narrator's voice was so calm and collected, and just kind of like, I just didn't feel any energy from the book. And so for me, it just kind of fell flat in my interest level. I still think the book was good. I still think a lot of people out there probably would thoroughly enjoy it. But for me, I was just kind of like, it was a story. I liked a lot of the characters. I thought a lot of the stories were great. But it was just a 3. It's just a 3 for me. And a 3 is still very good, everyone. Okay, so the next book that's on my list here is a part of the Booktube Prize. So it was that World of Wonders. So I can't talk about that, but that will be coming up at the end of March. So I did read that, and that format was an e-book. The next book, again, another Booktube Prize book. This was a physical book that I read from the library, and that was Intimations. I believe that's Zadie Smith. Again, for the Booktube Prize, I will talk about that later at the end of March, early April. The next book is the book of my dreams, the book that I've been wanting to read since last year and didn't end up reading it in January, so I picked it up in February, and I ended up not liking it. I ended up really just pressuring myself to finish this book. Like, had it not been so hyped up for me, had I not talked so much about wanting to read this book, I would have DNF'd it on page 85. But because I kept telling everyone that I want to read this book, I kept like fooling myself into thinking it was going to get better. And it just didn't. So that book, Mistress of Spices. Oh, I know. Everyone just like, Danny, no! Yes, I did not like it. I feel like it was super redundant. It was like a slow burn without actual anything at the end. It was just so boring to me. It was so boring. And the thing was, like, the first 30 pages, super engaged, super interested about it. It is about this magical person who ends up finding herself on this island where she becomes a mistress of spices, and essentially she is sent out into the world someplace, somewhere, sometime to help the people there with their issues in life through spices. And that beginning portion where you're explained that and you see her journey is great. And then when she's actually like there and she's in San Francisco and she's got a spice shop and there's all these different people that come and you meet all these different people and all of her thoughts and whatever about that. And then she like meets this one man who like changes everything and she like falls in love with him on first sight. By the way, she looks like an old lady and he's like a 20-year-old dude who apparently sees through her like old body and knows that she's, I don't know. I skim like hate read the majority of that book. I just felt it was so bad. It was so boring. And there's this part where she's cutting like a chili or something she's cutting with a knife. And this man comes, his name is Raven, and she nicks her finger, okay? She nicks her finger. There's blood coming out. And the author writes that Raven, the man, picks up this old lady's finger who just cut it and puts it in his mouth. And like, what? 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 I read that scene and I was like, why am I reading this? This is making me so angry. First of all, I don't know what's sensual about that, but that is gross. That is super, super gross. I was disgusted. I was so, like, I don't care if she was a beautiful woman. Don't put some stranger's finger with their blood in your mouth. Do you know you could catch a disease or something? Oh my God, it was so gross. I was like, I don't know. I'm moving on. I did rate it 3 in content, a 4 in creativity because I had not read anything like that before, but I gave it a 2 in engagement because it was not my cup of tea. So overall, I got a 3 for a rating. The next book is another buddy read. This is part of my year-long buddy read with Laura over at Book Bubbler. We read The Mask of the Black Tulip by Lauren Willig. And this one was good. I like this one more than the first one. The first one, the main character, Aimee, is kind of annoying. But in this one, we are following Henrietta and Miles. And if you recall from the first one, Henrietta is Richard's younger sister. And I don't want to get too much into the book because obviously it's a sequel, so I don't want to give too much away. But in the same vein of the first book, it's about espionage and spies and the kind of issues between England and France at the time, and all of that like revolutionary stuff's happening, and then we have our main characters, and I really liked it. Henrietta was so resourceful and smart, and she didn't jump into anything if it was going to be dangerous. She really thought through things, and when she had issues with things, it wasn't like immature. It wasn't, you expect it, and she was in the right when she had issues with stuff. It was like, yeah, that makes sense. Whereas in the first one, Aimee, like anytime she had an issue with something, you were just like, oh my gosh, this girl is so immature. And then Miles, the main character, the love interest, just really nice guy. I really like him. It definitely had some Bridgerton vibes in the book. So if you like Bridgerton, it definitely had a little bit of that. And overall, for the second in the series, thought it was really great. I did give it a 3 all the way around. It was a good one. Which is so weird because for Chocolat, I rated that exactly the same, but I definitely enjoyed Black Tulip more. But I mean, Chocolat, the writing style was a little bit better. Black Tulip, it's kind of just your standard like romancy, historical fiction kind of thing. So, I don't know, maybe I have to stop rating things and just be like, I liked it. Anywho, I do want to mention I still am reading the Brothers Karamazov with the fabulous Christy Lewis, Dostoevsky in space, the Codex Cantina, Peg from the History Shelf, and Victoria over at the Musical Bookworm. They are doing a great job on hosting these live videos. I've been participating in them, but I actually just caught up to this second piece, so I'm way behind, but I am still reading that, so I don't have any ratings for that as of yet. I'm listening to that in audiobook. The next book I also listened to as an audiobook, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars all the way around for writing style, for creativity, and my engagement, and that is The Mountains Sing. And it's an author that the name is going, I'm not going to try to pronounce the name because I'm going to do it terribly wrong, but I cried in this book. My heart was just racing for these characters. What it is it's about a family, so it's through the generations, and all of the struggles with Vietnam, both north and south. This family grows up in the north in agriculture, and they basically are just, so many deaths, just unreal deaths. There's like, during the land reform, they basically, the people would go and basically kill landowners because they were exploiting their workers when very well could have not been. And in this instance, this family, they were employing people. They were like their family. And it just, and then it goes on into the Vietnam War that we know from the 70s, and how that affected, and how almost everyone was sent to war, and who came back and who didn't, and how it just tore families apart. In this one instance, during that land reform, one of the sons was had to run away because he was going to be killed because he was 17 or something, and he ends up in the South, and it's like he was fighting against his family. It was so good. It was so good. I highly recommend that you read that. It was phenomenal. The writing style was beautiful. There were so many poetic and just stunning lines. I truly believe like this is one of those books that I want to have physically, so I can see how these words, I mean, There was Vietnamese language in there. It was just, oh, it was such a beautiful book. I just absolutely loved it. I highly recommend if you love anything like historical fiction. I mean, the reason I even read that book was because I was trying to participate in the Historathon, I think it was called, which was hosted by Angie at Science Mama and Curly Reader, Amanda at Curly Reader. And that one was nice because it checked so many boxes of and that's the only book I read for that readathon. But had I not wanted to participate in that readathon, I would have never read that book. So I highly encourage you, if you ever have an opportunity and you're like, I'm just going to try to read one book for this readathon and I'm going to try to check all the boxes, do it, because I was just so blown away by this book. I just loved it. It was so good and like heart-wrenching and just so, oh, it just brought me to tears so many times. And like it immediately, like the opening scene is where the air raid sirens are going off and they're trying to find shelter and all the shelters are full, and then they find this one, oh my gosh, it's just, oh, the book is so good. It's so devastatingly good. I loved it. I loved it. I highly recommend that you read that one. And then the next book that's on my list here is another for the Booktube Prize. I read Just Us by, oh boy, since I don't have my books with me, I can't remember the name. But again, I will talk about that in more depth when that Booktube Prize video comes out, when the round is through. And I read that as a physical book, so borrowed that from the library. Now, the last three are all e-reader books, and they're all graphic novels, because I realized last month for January, for my bingo card, I hadn't read any graphic novels, and I was like, oh my gosh, Danny, like, you have so many graphic novels, not only in your home, but accessible to you on your Hoopla account. Like, what are you doing? So during Krista from Books and Jams, her last live, or not, she didn't do live, it was a cozy reading night, I was like, oh, I want to participate in this. So I just picked out a few graphic novels that I had on my Hoopla account and read those, and it really was such a relaxing night. It was so nice because they were so cute and funny. I read Quiet Girl in a Noisy World. I believe that one was Debbie Tung, and if you recall, she has the Bookworm book or something like that, and that one was really cute. I gave it 3 stars all the way around. It really talks a lot about being an introvert in today's society and how that kind of affects her in her daily life, how it affects her and her now husband, and her co-workers and all that. It was cute. I really liked it. I love her drawing style. It's very cute, and I love how it's usually like black and white. I do really like that. And then I also read Adulthood is a Myth, and I can't recall who the author was of that. So obviously all of the images have been shown here. You should be able to see the author there, but that one was super like funny. I gave that a 3 in content, 4 in creativity, and 3 in engagement, because the way that she draws like the main little like person or whatever, like super creepy looking sometimes, like when it's like having a bad day, it's like eyes are all bulgy and stuff. But yeah, like the stuff that was in there, and reason why I gave it a 4 in creativity is because it was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. Like, that is so true. It was pretty funny. I really did enjoy that one. And then the last one that I read was Love and Pajamas. And again, I don't have the author name, I apologize, so you'll see it here. But that one was super cute. It was just about it's basically about finding your right partner and the comfortability level and just what it means to feel comfortable with your partner, and how, you know, no matter what you do or say and vice versa, you just know that that person's always there for you. So I thought that was a really cute one. I gave it a 3 in content and a 4 in creativity and engagement. I really like that one. Like, that's one I feel like I would like to have. Like, that's such a cute, like, maybe a Valentine's Day gift or something like that, because it was really cute. There's a lot of things in there where I was like, aw, that's so true. Like, it was cute. I liked that one too. So again, we had that 1 5-star, 2 4 stars, 6 3 stars, 3 owned books, 9 borrowed books, 4 nonfiction, 8 fiction, 3 graphic novels, which gave me 7 physical books, 1 audiobook, and 4 ebooks. Like I keep reminding everyone, I will give full reviews on those Booktube Prize books later on after the round is over. But then just inquiring minds may know, I did cover my bingo board. So for Diverse Voices, I did get 4 different books in there. Nonfiction, I also had 4 books. For Readathon, I did get that Mountain Sing. For Buddy Read, I only have 2 here, but I know it was like 3. Own books, 3. I did get 2 of my 21 books for 2021 done. I did read 1 classic, 1 audiobook, which is so strange for me, but I think it's because I'm listening to that Brothers Karamazov, and it's taking me a little bit. So I'm still listening to that as well. And then 3 graphic novels. So overall for the month, it was a pretty darn good month. So I'm pretty impressed with myself, pretty happy with how everything turned out, and just overall really excited. So tell me, have you read any of these books? What did you think? Am I spot on in my ratings? I'm not quite sure. What are you going to be reading coming up here in March? I know I've already put my TBR up, so take a check at that and see if you are reading any of those as well. I know middle grade March is just so much fun. So, okay, well, I am boiling. The sun is shining. I have my heat on. I don't know what I'm doing in here, but I got to get back to work. I'm super pleased that you're all here. I hope you've hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. I hope you take some time to comment below. Now I can't even breathe, but okay, thanks guys, I really appreciate you. Until next time, I hope you're reading something great, taking care, and staying safe. You know how it goes. Happy reading. Bye.